The 70s were a different time, and the media that came out of that crazy decade just as different as can be. Life can be brief, it can be brutal, it can test us and challenge us in the ways that we couldn't otherwise dream of. And if you happen to be a little kid growing up in that era, it can scar the living dickens out of you. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is Super Saturday, the show where we discuss all things super and awesome. Today's subject certainly fits that category, but like I mentioned a minute ago, it's perhaps better known to many of us by another term, traumatic. And I mean that in a good way. Can traumatic be a good thing? Yeah, whatever. Today's episode focuses on the 1978 animated adaptation of Richard Adams' beloved novel, Watership Down.
It's a beautiful day. All is calm and peaceful in the meadow. Or is it? If you look closely, very closely, you'll discover a whole new world with a world of difference, full of exciting adventure and desperate conflict.
We've got to go away from the Warren. All of us.
Go away?
Yes, before it's too late.
Is there something wrong? What's he on about?
They're coming.
A world of ruthless tyranny and brave rebellion.
I'll settle with you myself, bigwig. Come on and try, you crack-brained slave driver.
Watership Down was released October 19th, 1978, and in the following year became the sixth most popular film, challenging such legendary endeavors as the 11th Bond film Moonraker, Richard Donner's Superman, Jaws 2, Every Which Way But Loose, and Alien. Illustrating the widespread popularity of Adams' novel, the funding for the film actually came from a conglomerate of British financial institutions, so there was deep interest in backing this project. I'm not going to worry about spoiling a nearly 50-year-old film, but if there's someone out there that has been living under a rock for decades, spoilers ahead. In the film and the novel's mythology, the world was created by a deity called Frith. They were created in Frith's image, that being all grass eaters. As one would imagine, this world, free of checks and balances, resulted in the animals eating themselves almost to extinction. Rather than let that happen, Frith went to the leader of these animals, Ella Rara, and said, "Hey, cool it with eating everything in sight." Ella Rara scoffed at Frith, which naturally ticked Frith off, and then Frith decided there needed to be a hard limit to these beings' existence. Thus, Ella Rara took some of the animals and refashioned them into predators. Every animal was customized, being given gifts to survive. The original animals were given speed and cunning, thus there were rabbits. The story then zooms into a rabbit warren in East Berkshire, England, near Sandalford. Here live two brothers, Fiver and Hazel, our main characters. I don't recall if the story was clear on the why, but I don't think the film was either, why Fiver has the visions. In the film, he's shown as deeply touched, like he almost lives in this perpetual fever dream. But Fiver has this vision of rabbit apocalypse after he and Hazel see a sign signaling the areas to be developed. Now, they don't speak English. They don't know what the sign says, but I think on some level they figured it out. So they go to the other rabbits of the warren and insist they need to get the heck out of there immediately. Most of the other rabbits scoff at this, and in fact, the chief of the warren orders a lockdown. Nobody in or out. Real dictatorial stuff here. Half a dozen rabbits leave anyway. Our main characters, along with Bigwig, Blackberry, Pipkin, Dandelion, Silver, and Violet. Violet's the only gal that goes with them. That's important later. Well, no, not really later. As they journey through the first leg of their quest to find a new safe homeland, Violet is straight up murdered by a hawk. This film and this story show you the awful side of nature right out of the gates. No pulling of the punches, no softening the blow. No, you are confronted with bloody, horrible death right away. Anyway. They meet another rabbit called Cowslip, and he shows them where they can get fresh veggies. Fiver doesn't trust it, and while the little dude is given the what for by Bigwig for causing trouble, the rabbits find out the veggies are bait. The farmer is setting them out to snare rabbits for a hot meal. I told you this story's horrific, right? But moving on. Eventually, the problem of this being a sausage fest of all dudes is potentially resolved when the group finds a hutch of domesticated females. However, the rabbits are chased away before they can free the gals. Holly catches up with them from the old Warren, who relates the not at all surprising news the Warren was obliterated by humans. But also, there's another group of rabbits roaming around called Efrefans, who essentially are marauders. They're vicious, they're out to take whatever they want by force and tear up anyone in their path. After this, Fiver finds the hill from his vision, the titular Watership down. The group decides to settle and elects Hazel as their chief. Things look good. They befriend a black-headed gull named Kahar, who proves pivotal with his ability to fly around and do some recon. The group of rabbits return to free the captive does, but while doing so, Hazel takes a load of buckshot to his leg. He manages to crawl off to a storm drain, but things do not look good. Fiver has another vision, this time of the Black Rabbit of Inlay, which leads him to his injured brother. Again pivotal, Kahar digs out the buckshot from Hazel's leg. That bird was MVP in the story, let me tell you. Now, still obsessed with getting some girls into their stag party, the group finds out about an overcrowded Efrafa warren. You remember the vicious marauders? Yeah, them. So, seeing the obvious opportunity to start a war, Hazel decides the risk is worth the reward. They send in Bigwig, who infiltrates the place, which they then use his position to sneak out a bunch of refugees on the back of a flotation device. Yet again, Kahar saves the day, helping them out here. Deciding he's done enough here, Kahar pieces out to return to his homeland, promising to return. I kind of wondered, well, crap, how are these fools going to get by without Kahar there to get them out of the clinch? But I digress. The Efrafans track the group down and are not surprisingly displeased about this turn of events. Hazel offers peace, which, given the reputation of the Efrafans, is noble but laughable, and of course the Efrafans reject that offer. It's to be war. The group fortifies the warren, but Fiver has another vision, this time of a dog running loose in the warren. Now trusting his brother's visions, Hazel follows the breadcrumbs. He goes and frees the farmer's dog and leads it back to the warren. By this time, the Efrafans have broken through the warren's defenses.
Their defenses are broken! Let the slaughter begin!
Woundwort goes in alone, the tyrant leader of the Efrafans. He's big and mean, and to drive home the point, he straight up murders Blackiver right out of the gates. But Bigwig has his moment, fighting the thug to a standstill. It's a really bloody battle. Just brace yourselves when watching. I know. I'm warning you all to brace yourselves at this point. But anywho. And here's the moment in the film where my young brain was presented with a deeply confusing set of facts. The dog arrives and Woundwort abandons the fight with Bigwig to go out and face the thing down. Rabbit versus dog. The last scene of him, he's charging fearlessly at this very much larger animal like a boss. His body's never found, and it's just kind of left to, you have the situation where you're supposed to hate this guy. He's the bad guy. But then you see him do something absolutely incredible and chest thumping, like go out taking on this dog. The film doesn't offer easy answers, only life itself in all its sometimes brutal glory. The film concludes with a peaceful Warren and an aging Hazel. He's visited by the Black Rabbit, who invites him to the great group in the sky, assuring Hazel of Watership Down's perpetual safety. Hazel accepts and dies peacefully. And if that doesn't rip the heart right out of you, you may want to go visit your local physician and make sure there's actually a heart in there. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Martin Rosen was the producer behind both this film and the even more scarring Plague Dogs in 1982. Jake Eberts, a merchant banker, assisted and enjoyed the experience so much he actually switched careers to film afterwards. Production began in 1975 with John Hubley directing, but he left after disagreements with Rosen. Hubley's work can still be seen in the opening Fables section. Rosen then stepped in to make his directorial debut. Imagine this incredible classic being your first film. Anywho, that beautiful 2D cartoon work was helmed by Arthur Humberstone. He'd done some work back in 54's Animal Farm, 68's Yellow Submarine, and 73's Addams Family before Watership Down. Not surprisingly, he'd be brought back for Plague Dogs. The musical score was first developed by Malcolm Williams and then later refined by Angela Morley. The film was initially only released in 5 theaters, all funded by the producers themselves. Distributors couldn't decide if this was an adult or kids movie. That shocks me. And adopted to not get involved at all. Things looked bleak until word spread and everybody was coming out to see this film. Investors have been quoted as having received 5,000% return on their investment. The alleged budget was around 2.4 million and grossed somewhere around 3.5 million. So yeah, this thing made the bank. Legendary reviewers Siskel and Ebert were divided on the film at the time. Siskel felt the film was too long, but effective in putting folks behind the eyes of the rabbits, while Ebert felt the adult story didn't jive with the kids' animation. Clearly, Ebert was not familiar with what all animation can do, where it can go, the stories that can be told with it. But I digress. Other reviewers range from nitpicky to downright mean-spirited, like animation historian Michael Barrier, who called the film stupid, and clearly no intelligence was at work in making it. Mr. Barrier, not surprisingly, saw animation only in terms of Disney, so the film's merits were absolutely lost on him. But I digress. And merits there were. The art is a timeless classic from a bygone era. The music is haunting, and the story itself is absolutely mature, respectful of its audience's intelligence, and brutally realistic. As can be seen in reviews, the disconnect comes with what was at the time an art style held to be a thing used only for kids' entertainment. But that is a narrow and unrealistic view. It's like saying eggs can only be served for breakfast. Not only is that a silly attitude, it's just plain wrong. I was exposed to the film very early on, and it scarred the living crap out of me. That being said, I did not develop any neuroses or issues from the scarring. It simply showed me the rest of the world where life is brutal and bloody, but also worthy of recognition and something to learn from. The story doesn't pull punches, as this is both blessing and curse. It's a film and story I strongly recommend watching at least once. You really can't get that 70 vibe anymore. It's very much a time capsule into a different era, living in a worldview and reality that is long since gone. A window into the past for sure. Available for streaming on a wide variety of platforms, including here on YouTube, although you may need a subscription. DVD copies are abundant and cheap. Like I always say, get your physical media. In this case, however, I would try before you buy. Like I said, it's a brutal film. It might not be one you dust off all that often. Regardless, I encourage y'all to check it out at least once. And there you have it, folks. 1978's Watership Down. Thank you, one and all that tuned in, gave me a moment of your time. I appreciate you. Now, it's Saturday morning, you all. Get out there and watch some cartoons. Keep the tradition alive. While you're at it, pop in a good movie, read a comic, gather around the table, roll some dice, make those memories, drink a little water, get some exercise, and as always, have a good one.